The finance minister is doing a Elon Musk on the external affairs minister. The most important question. Now I go to the finance minister's trump card. No pun intended, sir. Trump card. No pun intended. Main thrust of this debate. And she has given a number of interviews. My humble advice to the finance minister is don't rely on only one engine of growth, consumption. She should have cut the GST. Everybody pays GST. The richest and the poorest pay in GST. What is the difference between Prime Minister's new employment generation program and the new employment generation program? We don't have a new PM, we have the same PM.
The Union Budget 2025-26, I call upon Shri P. Chidambaram to raise the discussion. Shri P. Chidambaram.
Mr. Chairman, I thank the Honorable Finance Minister for presenting the budget for 2025-26. There ought to be a philosophy behind the budget. But I cannot divine one in this budget. I shall not attempt to do so, because after going through the budget speech and the budget numbers, I believe there is no philosophy behind the budget. It is obvious that the budget was politically driven. I shall not elaborate upon that, but I congratulate the Finance Minister for achieving one of her objects a couple of days ago. Congratulations, Finance Minister. I would like to start on an unusual note. The Finance Minister has asked this House to appropriate 20,517 crore for the Ministry of External Affairs. Usually the MEA does not figure in a budget speech, but I want to start with the MEA. I'll tell you why. In 2023-24, the past year, we allocated 28,915 crore. In the current year, the revised estimate is 25,277 crore, almost 3,600 crore less in the current year. And for next year, the Finance Minister is asking for only 20,517 crore, another 5,300 crore less. I wish the External Affairs Minister is here. I suspect that, and I hope not, I suspect that the Finance Minister is doing a Elon Musk on the External Affairs Minister. Somebody must explain. Are we shrinking our world presence? Are we closing down embassies? Are we closing down consulates? Be that as it may. A more serious aspect of the MEA. MEA stumbled badly in the last week, and I say that with responsibility. It's now clear that the United States informed India about the deportation. They gave a list of deportees. India verified the list and confirmed that 104 or so names are Indian citizens. So this was not a surprise to us. It was a surprise to the rest of the people. The deputation was known to the ME. The External Affairs Minister met Secretary of State Rubio a few days before the deputation. And that was all published in the newspapers. I asked the government, did the External Affairs Minister raise the matter with Mr. Rubio? Did he know about the SOP? He told this House the SOP has been in place for many years, since 2012. If he knew about the SOP, did he protest the SOP to the Secretary of State of United States? Did he know about the SOP requires them to handcuff, tie the legs with ropes and mask? If he knew about it, did he protest to Mr. Rubio? If he did not protest, why did he not protest? And the most important question, did the External Affairs Minister...
Are you yielding? Are you yielding?
I'm not yielding. I'm only stating on basis of what he said.
He can reply later.
Did the External Affairs Minister...
He can reply later.
Sir, did the External Affairs Minister offer to Mr. Rubio, we will send an aircraft to bring our Indian citizens back?
Yes.
Another serious matter, another list of 483 Indians who have been identified as illegal immigrants. I don't know when the deportation will take place. I ask a specific question. Will the government send an Indian aircraft to bring back the Indian illegal immigrants? Now I go to the Finance Minister's trump card. No pun intended, sir. Trump card. No pun intended.
Sir, when you said twice, I got worried that no pun intended. You said twice, which means pun is intended. And I'm wondering whether your reference to Elon Musk is a compliment to the Honorable Finance Minister.
Sir, I'm
to
looking
take
at
to
my
the groove
clock.
of efficiency.
I'm looking at my clock and my whip.
I'll add up the time, sir. 1 minute I'll add.
Yeah. Please. Income tax cut is the FM's main thrust of this debate, and she has given a number of interviews. The House should know that only 3.2 crore persons pay income tax, from the last figures available. The rest file returns, but they pay nil tax. She has raised the government has raised the threshold from 7 lakhs to 12 lakhs, and it applies to all taxpayers right up to the highest taxpayer. Now, I've looked at the CBDT statistics of taxpayers, the last available statistics. My rough calculation is about 80 to 85 lakh taxpayers will go out of the tax net from next year, and 2.5 crore will benefit. But the 2.5 crore includes not only the middle class, which the Finance Minister passionately championed, it includes 2,27,315 persons who returned a total income of more than 1 crore. It includes 262 persons who returned a total income of more than 100 crore. And it includes 23 persons who returned a total income of more than 500 crore. So this is not benefiting the middle class alone, which I welcome, but it's benefiting the very rich and the richest in the world.
Yes.
Finance ministers also claimed that she had foregone 1 lakh crore rupees. Yet she has claimed that the net tax revenues to the center will grow by 11.1% in 25-26. In 24-25 also it grew by 11%. So it's about the same number. After foregoing 1 lakh crore, in this budget, how does she claim that the net tax revenues to the center will grow by the same 11%? This is pure magic, not mathematics. I will reserve how this magic unfolds, and I will comment on it later. Secondly, the finance minister says this 1 lakh crore will go into consumption, and that consumption will boost the economy. I find initially a lot of cheerleaders accepted that claim. But in the last 2-3 days, even the finance minister's cheerleaders are becoming skeptical about it. I asked the Honorable Finance Minister, will not part of the 1 lakh crore go into savings? SBI chairman has hoped that part of it will come to him and the banking system. Will not part of the 1 lakh crore go into repaying old household debts? Will not part of the 1 lakh crore go into travel abroad? Will it not go for educating children abroad? And will it not go into consuming imported goods? If you deduct all this, how does the Honorable Finance Minister claim that the entire 1 lakh crore will go into consuming domestic goods and services? It's only consumption of domestic goods and services will boost the GDP rate. And besides, what is 1 lakh crore when compared to the size of the GDP? The size of the GDP this year is 324 lakh crore. 1 lakh crore of 324 lakh crore is 0.3. Are you seriously saying, and are you asking this House to believe, that 0.3% will boost the economy? My humble advice to the finance minister is, don't rely on only one engine of growth, consumption. Look at other engines of growth like exports, capital investment. Those other engines must be revved up. You can't rely upon one engine of growth. Most of this consumption will not go into consuming domestic goods and services. Now contrast what she has forgotten. She remembered the middle class, but I congratulate her for that. But what about the section of the people whom she has forgotten? Look at the plight of Indian households. I'm taking purely from government numbers. Between 2012 and 2024, in the 12-year period, food inflation was 6.18%. Education inflation was 11%. Healthcare inflation was 14%. These have crippled Indian households. Household savings have fallen from 25.2% to 18.4%. And household consumption saving in September survey in 2023 shows, and mark these numbers, average monthly per capita expenditure of a rural family is only 4,226. And in urban areas, it is 6,996. Now we must examine these numbers more closely. This is the average for the whole India. 4,662 and 6,996, average for the whole India. But the bottom 50% will be even less. And bottom 50% of the 50% will be even less. Now, what has this budget done for the average Indian household in the bottom 50% and the bottom 25%? Nothing. What relief has the Honorable Finance Minister given them? She could have done one of several things. I'm not saying she should have done all the 4 things that I'm mentioning. She could have done one of several things. One, instead of cutting income tax, or along with cutting income tax, she should have cut the GST. Everybody pays GST. The richest and the poorest pay in GST. She could have cut GST. She could have cut the tax on petrol and diesel. Everybody indirectly or directly uses petrol and diesel. She could have increased the Maganrega daily wage. She could have increased that rate because the poorest are the ones who are going to Maganrega work. And she could have raised the statutory minimum wage across the board under the Minimum Wages Act. That would have benefited thousands and thousands of laborers. She did nothing, but she was focused on income tax and she was focused on the Delhi election. Let me turn to another subject. The most gravest challenge facing the country is unemployment. I think all of you will agree, unemployment is the gravest challenge. Even the treasury benches must agree. Now, the periodic labor force survey, popularly known as PLFS, concluded that unemployment rate is 3.2%. Now, if the unemployment rate is 3.2%, and that the economic survey also repeats that, if the unemployment rate is 3.2%, I'm sure the London School of Economics, as well as every other university, teaches us that any unemployment rate less than 5% is equal to full employment. I won't get into the intricacies. If unemployment rate has fallen to 3.2%, why should we worry? We should all be happy because it's full employment according to economic theory. The same PLF says youth unemployment is 10.2%. The same PLFS says graduates unemployment is 13%. If youth unemployment is 10.2 and graduates unemployment is 13, how does it conclude that the total unemployment rate in India is only 3.2? For every job, for 100 jobs, there are 1 million applicants. For 1,000 jobs, there are several million applicants. The economic survey, sir, I quote, we need to create 78.5 lakh non-farm jobs every year until 2030. I asked the Honorable Finance Minister, what is her plan? What is the way forward to create 78 lakh non-farm jobs between now and 2030? They will be in government until 2029. So the bulk of the period is their government. They should tell us clearly a path to create 78 lakh jobs every year until the end of the government. Sir, the next I come to the famous PLI. The budget has 8 lines of expenditure on employment generation. I've looked at it closely. If I'm wrong, the Honorable Finance Minister will correct me. There are 5 lines of expenditure under PLA. There's one line of expenditure called New Employment Generation Program. There is one line called Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program. There's one line called Skill India. I don't know the differences between these acronyms. What is the difference between Prime Minister's New Employment Generation Program and the New Employment Generation Program? We don't have a new PM, we have the same PM. On the 8 lines in the current year, mark these numbers, sir. On the 8 lines together, I've got the breakdown, but I'm taking all 8 lines of expenditure. In the current year, the budget allocation when she presented the budget last year was 28,318 crore. This is the gravest challenge. You allocated 28,318 crore. But what will you spend? By March 31, you will spend only 20,035 crore. Why are you not spending 8,000 crore on the challenge, which is the gravest challenge facing the country?
Yes.
The PLI scheme is a spectacular failure.
Yes.
Otherwise, you would have spent this money. Employment generation is a spectacular failure. Now I look at another aspect. The wages of salaried male worker as well as female worker, but I'm giving the numbers of the male worker. The wages of salaried male worker has fallen in the last 7 years from 12,665 per month to 11,858 per month. This is own numbers. From 12,665 to 11,858. The wages of self-employed male worker has fallen from 9,454 per month to 8,591 per month. So what is the position, sir? The position is incomes are falling, wages are falling, government expenditure is not keeping pace with the promises, household net savings have fallen, household debt has arisen.
Yes.
This is the plight of the bottom 50% of India.
Yes.
There's nothing in this budget for the bottom 50%. I think we cannot divide this house into one half speaking for the top 50% and one half speaking for the bottom 50%. I'm quite happy to speak for the bottom 50%, but I want the treasury benches also to impress upon their ministers to speak for the bottom 50% of India.
Yes. Yes. Man ki baat.
Sir, let's take Make in India. They made such a hullabaloo about Make in India, Made in India. What was Make in India became Made in India. In global manufacturing trade, India's share is 2.8%. China's is 28.8%. So we are not a big player in manufacturing goods trade. The share of India's manufacturing in the GDP has fallen under this government.
Yes.
And I give the numbers from the economic survey. 2014, it was 15.07%. 2019, it has fallen to 13.46%. And 2023, it is 12.93%. These are the numbers of the World Bank. Economic survey has proportions in the GVA, but that has also fallen from 17% to 14%. So manufacturing as a proportion of GDP has not increased under this government. So manufacturing is a spectacular failure. PLI is a spectacular failure. So what has this government got to boast about after the last 11 years? I come to my penultimate point. Now, budget is about numbers. I don't want to burden the House with numbers, but I have to mention some numbers, because the budget is about numbers. Now, the FM, Honorable FM, claimed in a number of interviews that she has not only met the fiscal deficit target, but has improved upon the fiscal deficit target. Absolutely true. If you look at the numbers, 4.9 achievement was 4.8. But how did she achieve this 4.8? She cut capital expenditure by the central government by 92,682 crore. Not revenue expenditure, sir. Capital expenditure by the central government was cut by 92,682 crore. She cut the grants in aid to states for creating capital assets, that's another form of capital expenditure, by 90,887 crore. So total cut in capital expenditure by the center and the states, I'm not apportioning blame, but the center and the states in the current year will be 1,83,569 crore. By cutting capital expenditure by such a humongous amount, she saved on the fiscal deficit 43,785 crore. I can understand if she has saved on the fiscal deficit 1,83,000 crore. It is bad policy, but I will understand. But after cutting 1,83,000 odd crore, she saved about 44,000 crore. Is it good policy? I don't know. Is it good economics? I say no, it is not good economics. Yes. You can't cut capital expenditure and compress your fiscal deficit and say, I have met my fiscal deficit, I've improved my fiscal deficit. On the expenditure side, I want honorable members, all of us are concerned, to look at these numbers. Where are the cuts followed? On health, 1,255 crore. On education, 11,584 crore. On social welfare, 10,019 crore. I wish the Agriculture and Rural Development Minister was here. On agriculture, the cut is 10,992 crore. On rural development, it is 75,133 crore. And on urban development, it's 18,907 crore. Why do you make these cruel cuts? There are other unkind cuts. I won't give the numbers, on Poshan, Jal Jeevan Mission, National Social Assistance Program, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, Crop Insurance Scheme, Urea Subsidy, PM Garib Kalyan Yojana. In all these programs, there have been cuts. The most cruel cuts are, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, sir, Anusuchit Jati Yojana. Anusuchit Jati Yojana. 1,340 crore has been cut. Young Achievers Scholarship, 455 crore. Post-Metric Scholarship for Scheduled Caste, 860 crore. Program for Development of Scheduled Tribes, 670 crore. You cut money for Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe, and Anusuchit Jati. And you say, I have reached my fiscal deficit, I've improved my fiscal deficit. Look at the grand announcements in this budget. One grand announcement was Urban Challenge Fund, para 58 of the budget speech. I was impressed. Urban Challenge Fund, 1 lakh crore was announced. What is the allocation? 10,000 crore. Jal Jeevan Mission, para 55 of budget speech. Jal Jeevan Mission says, we have provided water to 80% of the population of India, and we will provide for the remaining 20%. We are therefore extending the scheme. The budget estimate for the current year was 70,163 crore. Actual expenditure is 22,614 crore. I mean, this is pure magic, sir. You don't spend 1/4 or 1/3 of your money and you claim that everybody has been provided water. Now I come to my last point. Sir, you will give me one more minute.
I would say, I'd undertake it.
Yeah. Now what did the CEA say? The Chief Economic Advisor is an reasonably autonomous office. I'm glad the Honorable Finance Minister has given him the freedom to speak his mind and to be frank and forthright. I congratulate the Honorable Finance Minister in the end for that also. What did he say? Get out of the way.
Yes.
It's all we are saying, get out of the way. In a different context. Deregulate. Deregulation drives growth. Work towards giving to people back their agency and enhancing the economic freedoms of individuals and organizations. What is the response of the Honorable Finance Minister? To get out of the way and to deregulate. Her response is to announce in the budget speech 7 new schemes, 8 new missions, and 4 new funds. Now, where will the money come from these schemes and missions and funds? I don't know, because there's no allocation. Sir, in conclusion, I want to say this. Half a minute. Governance is in the present. There is a government, but I'm sorry to say there is little governance. There is no philosophy, therefore no policies. In 1991, we faced a graver situation. There was a man entered this parliament, entered the North Bloc.
Yes.
He had an economic philosophy.
Yes.
He followed it with policies that required wisdom and farsightedness. Dr. Manmohan Singh had them. And I'm urging the Honorable Finance Minister to recapture the wisdom and the farsightedness of Dr. Manmohan Singh. One last question. This is through the Finance Minister to the government. Why have you not conferred a Bharat Ratna on Dr. Manmohan Singh?
Yes.